Okay, so where to even begin? Um, let's start with me saying that I'm a shipper. I've been a shipper for a really long time. I've been a shipper since high school, I'd say, when I first discovered slash fiction, I guess, because I kind of have this little bit of joy in my heart um, about the idea of uh, characters getting in romantic relationships. Specifically, I like the idea of characters that weren't really designed by the creators to be in relationships, but that end up in relationships. Very specifically, men. Um, Mostly because, as a gay man, it warms my heart a little bit. The idea of oh, we're writing this, and then all of a sudden these people are interested in this, and then it'd be really awesome if these characters got together. Now, um, shipping is interesting because of the fact that up until very, very, very recently, um, most of the time, uh, shows kind of ignored shipping, or they did something when they knew that shipping existed. They did something where they would acknowledge the ship by kind of sort of doing something called queerbaiting, which is where they would hint at the ship. They would have the characters touch each other or as act sort of kind of romantic-y, but not ever actually follow through on that. The most recent example of this is something called Steric over with the Teen Wolf fandom, where um, uh, these two characters that were really, really popular in the Teen Wolf fandom. I never really watched Teen Wolf, but I knew of the ship. Anyways, these two characters were really, really super popular among fandom, and people wanted them to get together. And the creators of the show knew that, and they kind of hinted at it in the show, but they never actually followed through on it. And even which was even kind of more infuriating to the fans because because of the fact that not only did they not follow through on it, but there were actual gay characters on the show, so there was no actual reason not to follow through with it, other than I don't know. I honestly I couldn't tell you. Maybe it had something to do with the actors. Maybe it had something to do with the writers of the show just not wanting to write that particular pairing, right? And I'm of two minds of this. As fans, we have no right to actually demand that writers or creators or actors, get in line with the ship. There's absolutely no reason for us to be able to demand that, right? But I also feel really cruddy when creators and writers and stuff like that know that the thing exists, and then they kind of jerk people around, right? They're under no obligation to write situations that queerbait, right? In fact, I would really prefer if they don't. But that brings us to today's topic, today's full topic. I spent 4 minutes just talking about shipping and queerbaiting and all that happy yaya. So let's talk about Gotham, and specifically a pairing that has become really super popular as of late. Edward Nygma, Oswald Cobblepot. Their ship name is called Nygmobblepot. I am actually a big fan of this ship for several different reasons. I like Gotham. I find Gotham has some severe problems, but in general I like Gotham. I don't know why. I just like it. But Gotham is, if you don't know, is a kind of a prequel show to the Batman mythos. That's very kind of vague, but it's basically a show set in the Batman mythos, but before Batman exists. Specifically, we got young Bruce Wayne bopping around. We've got the city becoming what it was, so that becoming what it was that Batman needed to exist, right? There was what's really interesting right now is that we've got so Nygmobblepot, specifically these characters. It's something that's kind of been in the fan consciousness for a while. It's been around actually since the first season of the show, because let's just be honest, the actors who both play Edward Nygma and Oswald Cobblepot are handsome. I'm not going to lie, that's part of the reason why the ship exists in the first place. They're handsome, and it's not the only reason that the ship exists. Let me continue on. During the first season, they had a single scene together. Like, literally, the two characters had a single scene together. But in the second season, partly due to the fact that the actors who play both of the characters kind of like became buddies, and partly probably because the writers knew that people wanted to see them play off each other, they had a much more deep arc. Edward found Oswald after a major event in his life, and after he got hurt, and he nursed him back to health, and both of the and Edward, they bonded over basically being bad guys, because they're both villains, and Edward had started murdering people because that's the way they were going with him in this version of him. I don't necessarily see the Riddler in the core universe as a murderer per se, but a lot of people tend to view villains as just like they do evil things, right? And that's a pretty valid interpretation. It's not, I don't 100% agree with it, but it's a way to make him compelling. It's not really neither here nor there. Oswald is like even worse in this series than Edward is. He's murdered lots and lots of people. He's even at least claimed to eaten some people. So, anyways, it's really neither here nor there. At the end of the second season, Oswald is in charge of the Gotham underworld, and Edward is in Arkham Asylum because he finally gets caught for killing people. At the beginning of the third season, Edward's in Arkham, and Oswald's basically chasing after somebody who was once his rival and came back to life, and it's complicated. But what's really interesting is that at the beginning of the season, Oswald is visiting Edward in Arkham. He's listening to his advice. He likes him a lot, right? And at the very beginning of the season, also, Oswald decides to run for mayor of Gotham City, and he decides that the political power that he had garnered through that run, that he would use it to pull Edward out of Arkham. And so they became like super buddy-buddy, like super buddy-buddy. The last few episodes basically had Oswald winning the mayorship and Edward becoming his chief of staff, and like the last few episodes have flat out confirmed that Oswald loves Edward, or at least he thinks he loves Edward. We're gonna get into that. So it looked like, from the outsider's perspective, that this was actually going to happen. This was going to be a thing. An actual ship that wasn't really intended for the show, but was like really loved by a lot of fans, was going to actually become a thing. And at the end of the last episode, Oswald was trying to tell Edward through the entire episode that he loved him. And Edward was out getting wine for a dinner that they were going to have together. And Oswald was sitting there waiting for him, and then Edward meets this woman who is a character who looks a lot like a character that he was actually in love with in the first season. His character, Edward, was basically obsessed with this woman named Kristen Kringle, and this woman, the new character, her name is Isabella. She looks a lot like her, mostly because she's played by the same actress, but the idea is that she's supposed to be a different person. At least as far as we can tell right now. There may be other weird plot twists on that, because she seems personally kind of fishy to me. There's something about her, because the very first interaction that they have is that she seems like enticed by him, and also she says a riddle to him, which is kind of weird. It's kind of weird that not only she looks like Kristen, but the interest that she shows in him immediately goes to a place that he would really like. So to me, that screams that something's going on, but it's neither here nor there. So there just came a video out that kind of started talking about the relationship between Edward and Oswald, and it's a kind of behind the scenes type of thing. It has the actors both talking about the relationship and how it's developing this season, and it's also talking about some things we haven't seen yet in the episodes that are coming up. And what's going on in that video is kind of concerning to me. I'll link it in the low bar of the video. It concerns me because of the way that Robin Lord Taylor talks about the relationship. It concerns me because of the way that basically, like, I want this relationship to happen. I want it to actually be a thing, and the way that the video talks about it, it really looks like it's headed for tragedy. And I'm not necessarily against a relationship ending in tragedy, but it was like really just beginning, and what looks like is going to happen is that there's a one-sided affection going on, and that it's going to end poorly because Oswald probably will be incredible. So Oswald is definitely in love with Edward. Like, he has affection for him, right? And love, So Robin Lord Taylor mentions that, Oswald is in a place in his life where he's very vulnerable, and he'll attach himself to anybody. And I'm like, that's not the language I wanted to hear. And so Edward's falling in love with this new person, and you see clips from future episodes where, it's become pretty clear that he's starting to like this girl, because we didn't really see anything at the end of the last episode other than he was shown interest. But anyways, and then at the end of the video, at the end of the preview video, we see Oswald trying to mess with that relationship. And the way I can only see that ending poorly. Now, I'm not saying that. Here's the thing. I have no idea how the rest of this storyline is going to pan out. Maybe I'll be completely wrong. Maybe it will turn out okay for Edward and Oswald. I'm expecting there to be some sort of drama because they're freaking villains and because they're both kind of conniving and evil. But what I was really hoping was for them to get together. Because honestly, there are so few gay couple characters that are, you know, together on television. And I know a lot of people would point out, well, but there's all those characters from Glee and blah blah blah. It's like one rain droplet among the deluge of straight couples. Yeah, you can point to all those Glee characters or all those whatever, characters over there, but like really when you count them, like it's like maybe on two hands, right? Especially like on television, it's weird because TV shows come and go, so like there's only so many gay characters at a time, and until the television shows come and go, but like hetero relationships are like everywhere. Like everywhere. There's always another hetero relationship for you to invest in. And there's just not that many gay relationships, especially like gay male. Like lesbian relationships are a lot more common on TV because of the titillation factor, because it doesn't turn off their straight male audience. But like this is something that doesn't happen almost ever, especially because of the fact that this was something that wasn't really like, this is something that the writers and the actors knew about. I mean, the actor who plays Edward Nygma basically named the ship. Like literally, he named the ship. You can find it in one of his old tweets. And it would be really disappointing for it to basically go to this point where one of the characters actually is interested in another, and then the other one, and then it all just falls apart before like any actual like connection happens. Like we got really close. Like we got it. It would be such a slap in the face. It would be really such a slap in the face. And here's the funny part. So I was watching that video. Again, I'll have it in the low bar. I was watching that video, and you get the feeling that the actors, well, specifically Robin, likes where this storyline is going, and I think the reason that he likes that is because full disclosure, I'm pretty sure Robin Lord Taylor is gay. I don't think he's ever said it too much. Like, he doesn't say it too much out loud. He's very private about his private life, but there's everything that indicates that he is, and he's never denied it. So, anyways, that's neither here nor there. But like, so we hear Robin Lord Taylor talking about this relationship, and we see this kind of joy at the upcoming drama of it all. And I get where he's coming from. He's an actor, and he likes stories that are dramatic, where he gets to sink his teeth into, where as a person who role plays, who does live action and tabletop role playing, the drama stuff, it's always the fun part. So as an actor, I get why he's excited about this kind of stuff coming up, right? Because, it's going to get ugly, that kind of thing. But what he doesn't really understand, I don't think, at least I'm not getting that feeling from the vibe from, is that if this turns out poorly, there will be a lot of fans who will be very mad. Like, super mad. Like, like really mad. And part of this is that even if it wasn't like intended to be queer baiting, if it ends up poorly, if it ends up really poorly, it will feel, especially because they pushed it far enough where we know that Oswald likes Ed. They pushed it far enough that it looks like it could potentially be an actual romantic relationship, and then they take it back. If they yank it back, right? I feel like that this could turn into one of the bigger shipping disasters. You know, the Teen Wolf stuff was pretty bad. We talk Supernatural kind of has this thing going on where they're queer baiting people, basically, with the whole Dean and Castiel. Now, at least there, they never really gave the indication that they were ever going to fully go there. But this kind of thing happens, and people are tired of it. They just want their characters to get into a relationship that's kind of meaningful, right? You know, we don't want them to stop being evil. I think Hollywood has this weird idea that if you fall in love, then all of a sudden you become perfect, right? That Hollywood has this tendency to have married couples be boring or couples be boring because they've fixed each other's problems or something like that. But that makes no sense. Most people that I know who are married or who are in love, they're just as messed up as all the rest of us. The only difference is they have somebody to come home to and deal with that messed up stuff with, you know? Yeah, so that's my thoughts and feelings right now. I feel like this could end poorly. I feel like I don't want it to end poorly. I don't want it to be a internet drama fest where there's people yelling queer baiting and blah blah blah. But that's where it looks like it's going to me, and that makes me really sad because I really, really wanted to see this kind of end in a good fashion. You know, I never really expected this to push this far. You know, I never expected Oswald to say that, hey, I really like Ed, you know, out loud, you know. But now that it's gone that far, they need to go all the way with it, or it's gonna end poorly. It just is. You know, there's gonna be a fan blowback that I'm not sure that the people on Gotham understand, that the writers and producers understand what kind of blowback you're gonna get. This could end up being Terra level bad for the fandom. For those of you who don't know, Terra was a character on Buffy the Vampire Slayer who was gay, and she ended up shot and dead, and it pissed off a huge section of the fandom. And in some ways, the show never really recovered from that. I feel like that could happen here. Especially, Gotham is a much smaller show, and it really relies on its fandom to keep it alive. So I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm really, really scared because I just want this... Again, I just want this to work. I want this to... I mean, I know there's going to be drama. Again, I don't have a problem with drama. I don't care about love triangles and shit like that. Go ahead, do your little love triangle, but have the end game be Nygmobblepot. Please, please have that be your end game, because if it's not, if it's Oswald kills like predictably, based on what I know about the characters, if Oswald kills the new character Isabella, and then Edward and him hate each other because of that, you know, even if like Oswald hides it for a little while, which he's not very good at that kind of shit, so I don't expect that to happen. Yeah, I don't know.